But when she was hit in the face by Breanna Stewart after a play, now granted, I do want to say before I roll the footage, it was a basketball play, but she still should have received some type of flagrant foul because it was a hit to the face. But let's roll the footage, get down in the comment section before we get into what Breanna Stewart had to say, and let me know y'all thoughts about this specific play right here. Let's roll it.
Stewie make some plays today, defensive.
Caitlin Clark was again at the center of post-game discussion following a recent matchup, this time involving contact from Breanna Stewart. Stewart declined to directly address a hard foul on Clark when reporters brought it up afterward, and the clip quickly spread across social media, unsurprising given how much attention anything involving Clark tends to draw. That wasn't the only physical incident in the game. Clark was also on the receiving end of a hard screen from Jonquel Jones that looked like it may have been a moving screen, and when Clark attempted to raise the issue with an official afterward, she was hit with a technical foul for the exchange. Based on the second half of that contest, Indiana clawed its way back into the game, and officiating appeared reasonably attentive overall, though the contact from Stewart on a follow-through, which struck Clark in the face, arguably deserved a flagrant foul review, even accounting for it being a legitimate basketball play.
Defensively comes over, right hand.
Oh, that hand does hit the face on the follow-through, though.
She does. She meets her up top, but definitely contact.
Boston, corner three, can't connect. Stewart the rebound. Joe.
We have seen Stewie make some plays today defensively. Comes over, right hand.
So that was the play right here. A lot of people talking about this, dude. A lot of people was just talking about this set play involving Breanna Stewart. And we know when it comes to Stewart.
Replay showed Stewart making a defensive play, coming across with her right hand, and clearly making contact with Clark's face on the follow-through as she contested the shot near the top of the key. That was the sequence generating most of the conversation afterward. Stewart is regarded as one of the more established veteran leaders in the league, and officials tend to give her latitude in these situations. At the post-game podium, Stewart addressed questions from reporters about the game overall.
When it comes to Stewie, man, she's one of the leaders in the damn little WNBA stuff. They pretty much let her do what she do. With all that being said, this is Stewie at the podium yesterday talking to reporters. Let's roll it.
A game like this. For you?
That's for me?
Yeah.
We know we're in it right now. We got to find a way out of it. We got to find a way to play 40 minutes. Obviously, low turnovers in the first half. The third quarter really hurt us. 30 points off of 17 turnovers, 10 minutes.
Asked about the difficulty of the outing, Stewart acknowledged the team is in a rough patch and needs to find a way to sustain a full 40-minute effort, pointing to a costly third quarter where 17 turnovers and 10 missed free throws led directly to 30 points for the opponent. She said that when a team is losing, everything starts to feel heavier, and the group needs to find ways to come together and change momentum during those stretches.
10 missed free throws, like that stuff kills you. And when you're losing, everything feels very heavy. And I think we've got to find a way when it is heavy to kind of come together and turn the tide.
Breanna, you guys are obviously in like a tough stretch this season. Didn't play since Sunday, but obviously your schedule also got thrown out of whack a little bit. Meanwhile, Fever are on a back-to-back. What is the feeling after a loss like this?
I think...
Asked how it feels navigating a tough stretch while playing a team on the second night of a back-to-back, Stewart said the priority now is stopping the losing streak before it grows further, noting one loss can't be allowed to snowball into several more. She turned reflective, saying she needs to look inward given her own missed free throws and turnovers that game, and that being her best requires accountability from herself first, even while acknowledging how difficult the current stretch has been.
I think the feeling after a loss like this is like we got to find a way to kind of stop the bleeding. One loss can't turn into two, can't turn into three, and now four. Like, that's a lot, but like, me mentally, like, I'm looking at myself, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that I didn't do well today between the turnovers or the missed free throws or things like that. So,
a follow-up question noted how much offensive weight Stewart tends to carry, pointing out she managed only 8 points in the pivotal third quarter, and asked how the rest of the roster needs to elevate to match that responsibility. A teammate responded that accountability isn't limited to Stewart, that everyone on the roster needs to look inward, and that pulling together as a team is what ultimately matters. Asked why 2 specific players didn't see the floor that night, the coach explained the staff wanted to evaluate other options given recent performances, noting not everyone can play every game.
So, in order for us to be our best, like, I need to be better, and I think that's like I can definitely look at myself in the mirror and know that, but yeah, it's tough right now.
JJ, I just want to like bounce off of that because it does feel like Breanna a lot of times carries a lot of this load. Like, she had 8 points in the third quarter. Is she having...
When asked whether recent struggles reflect who this team fundamentally is, the coach pushed back, saying the season has shown real high points and real low points, praised the team's veteran leadership, and pointed to a string of tough in-game moments and questionable call swings as contributing factors rather than a deeper identity issue. He emphasized the need to respond better to momentum shifts rather than let close deficits snowball.
She having to care, like, how else does everyone else need to step up to also match that energy?
Yeah, I mean, I think she said it. It's not just her that's obviously going to look inward and try to figure it out. Like, we all are, and I think that's what makes us, good individuals. And I think we just have to put it together to be a good team. But right now we're in it, and we'll figure it out.
And then, Chris, why didn't Benijah and Rebecca Gardner play tonight?
We're searching, and we wanted to see what Fotu's had tonight. And Melly played well.
A player added that staying present is a personal focus given the team's current record, acknowledging the need to keep improving while playing with more urgency, framing the stretch as something the group can either sink further into or fight out of together, and noting the roster's veteran presence gives confidence that a rough patch like this won't derail them, even while more improvement is clearly needed. Asked for an injury update on a teammate, the coach confirmed an ankle injury with no further update available yet.
Played well in the last game, so I can't play everybody.
And then, Chris, this is for you, and then one of either JJ or Breanna, whoever wants to answer this, but like, at what point do you ponder if this is just like who this team is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is who we are. I think we've proven that throughout the season. I think we've had some very high highs and low lows, and the biggest thing is these two are incredible. The way they lead, their words they had in the locker room.
Asked to zoom in on what changed specifically during the third quarter, Stewart pointed to defensive lapses, giving up 30 and 33 points across the two halves, and cited turnovers off live ball situations along with unnecessary fouls that gave the opponent extra scoring chances as controllable mistakes that need to be cleaned up, adding that the opposing offense fed off momentum once shots started falling.
Some fans recently, because fans were calling her out about her having no interest in celebrating Caitlin Clark, but being very celebratory of other Fever players. Kelsey Mitchell. It is what it is. We just calling it like we see it. Now, we have to go to this courtesy of Caitlin Clark's Stan account because, she did go back and forth with the Caitlin Clark Stan account. Okay, and on July 10th, Caitlin Clark Stan account called out Amber Cox and said Amber Cox is...
Asked whether the upcoming break offers a useful reset, the coach said the focus remains on the games directly ahead rather than looking toward any break, emphasizing the need to put together a complete 40-minute effort, take away what needs to be taken away defensively, and stay connected as a group after a strong start unraveled in the third quarter.
Caitlin Clark Stan account called out Amber Cox and said Amber Cox is always loud after a win without Caitlin Clark. Okay, Amber Cox said, Fever fans, we appreciate you. Can't thank you enough for always showing up for us at home and on the road. We hear you and are incredibly grateful for the support. Okay, and in response to Caitlin Clark's Stan account, Amber Cox said, nonsense. You know who is also happy after any win? Caitlin Clark, because this team is full of people who celebrate and care for one another. And like all of them, she's a great teammate. We all cannot wait to have Cece back on the court.
In a separate portion of the availability, the head coach was asked what's preventing the team from sustaining a full 40 minutes of quality play despite a strong start offensively. He pointed to momentum swings and situations outside the team's control, while also taking some personal accountability for staying composed on the sideline, and said learning to respond when the game isn't going well remains the central challenge. Asked the same question from a player's perspective, one starter said the issue is largely defensive, noting the team is capable of scoring enough to win most nights, but that allowing too many points in the third and fourth quarters due to defensive breakdowns is the bigger problem to solve.
See back on the court, enough with this ridiculous narrative, okay? And then this was put out. Amber Cox still hasn't posted or reposted about Caitlin Clark's historic 45-point double-double. Salmon, catfish, tilapia. It's smelling real fishy around here. I just got to call it like it is. What Ben Daniels say, we got to call a spade a spade. Shout out to Ben Daniels. Amber Cox, you've been awfully quiet.
Asked whether turnovers stemmed from lineup combinations without much shared court time, Stewart said she didn't see a direct connection, crediting some reserves for playing aggressively and putting the team's top players in good positions, while acknowledging that the turnover issue mainly traced back to herself and a teammate, calling it something they need to personally correct rather than a lineup problem. Asked why it seemed difficult to bring full effort after several days without a game, one player firmly disagreed with the premise, saying the team competed hard throughout, and a teammate echoed that sentiment, attributing the loss more to missed execution and momentum swings than any lack of effort. That covers the post-game comments from New York's side.
Amber Cox, you've been awfully quiet about Caitlin Clark's historic feat. You was real loud about everything else going on. When Caitlin come back, you get real quiet. It's real silent on that account, Amber. It's real silent on that account. And people calling it out. I'm just saying, look, maybe you went on vacation in the middle of the season while you're supposed to be at work. Maybe you got sick. I don't know, but the people want to know.
Silence continues to surround the situation. Nothing but quiet. Questions are being raised about where Amber Cox has been and whether everything is fine on her end. Cox has drawn renewed attention online, with some fans suggesting she's shown little enthusiasm for celebrating Caitlin Clark's recent milestone. According to this narrative, Cox has stayed noticeably absent from any recognition of Clark's 45-point double-double, a first in league history. Critics point out that she's been quick to publicly praise other players on the roster, which fuels the perception of selective celebration, though this remains a matter of interpretation rather than confirmed fact.
You got sick. I don't know, but the people want to know, where are you and why have you been so silent about Caitlin Clark's barrage? Amber Cox's last post that she retweeted is about Kelsey Mitchell. Nothing about Caitlin Clark and her historic numbers. Very, very telling. Very, very interesting. Now, over on the Speakeasy, they spoke about how WNBA...
Recently, Cox exchanged messages publicly with several supporters over this exact criticism, specifically the claim that she celebrates other Fever players, including Kelsey Mitchell, more visibly than Clark. The response from her camp has essentially been to...
Very, very interesting. Now, over on the Speakeasy, they spoke about how WNBA players need to toughen up and how they're doing too much. And in particular, they're responding to the Chelsea Gray and Natasha Cloud situation with them speaking out and all of this stuff about bettors and all of this stuff. I want to get into the conversation that they had. I think TJ Hushmanzada had a very, very good point about why are you going and clicking on your request on Instagram from random? Like, it's weird. It's really, really weird. Let's get into it.
It's time to be honest.
Following that exchange, further posts emerged, noting that Cox still hadn't shared or acknowledged Clark's historic scoring performance publicly. Something about the situation strikes observers as suspicious, though no direct evidence confirms intentional avoidance one way or another. Cox's most recent shared post reportedly centers on Mitchell, with nothing referencing Clark's record-setting output, a detail some are reading into heavily, though it remains circumstantial. Speculation continues about possible explanations, whether a scheduling gap, personal matters, or simple oversight, but the underlying question being raised online is why there's been such limited public acknowledgement of Clark's recent stretch. Separately, over on a different sports talk platform, hosts recently discussed a broader theme, whether WNBA players need thicker skin regarding public criticism, prompted partly by comments from Chelsea.
Let's get into it.
It's time to be honest. with being a celebrity, with being a notable figure, with being anybody of substance or prominence, criticism is the cost of praise. I repeat, criticism in life is the cost of praise. By nature of individuals praising you, by nature of individuals putting you on a pedestal, others are going to try to rip the pegs out from that pedestal, and others are going to criticize you if for no other reason than they despise seeing you get praised. Criticism, it will always...
The broader discussion turned toward a familiar argument, that criticism accompanies public recognition as an inherent trade-off. The reasoning goes that anyone elevated to celebrity or public figure status invites both admiration and backlash simultaneously, since visibility itself draws detractors looking to tear down what praise has built up. Essentially, criticism was framed as an unavoidable byproduct of being publicly celebrated. That said, one host pushed back on this framing when it comes to certain contracts, endorsement deals, and other financial benefits that come with the territory, noting that accepting the upside means accepting the downside too, including harsh commentary. There was acknowledgement that outright slurs and hateful language cross a clear line and aren't acceptable under any framing, separate from ordinary criticism. One host noted that recent commentary tied to Clark specifically has stirred up controversy, though it was pointed out that players shouldn't be expected to constantly respond to or address every incident. Another angle raised was that some of the hostility towards certain players stems from bettors upset about losing money on games, which one host suggested is simply part of the territory that comes with increased betting interest in the league. However, a co-host firmly disagreed with that framing, arguing that outright insults, like commentary on someone's skill or performance, don't belong in the same category as genuine criticism, since insults aim purely to demean rather than offer constructive feedback.
Praised. Criticism, it will always and forever be the cost of praise. So when you see yourself getting criticized, just understand, in large part, that's because some individuals are praising you. With that being said, bro, you can't ask for the new contracts and ask for more money and ask for the private jets, but not understand the fine print, T. And the fine print of being wealthy or a public figure or anything of influence for the ladies and the incredible ladies at a W is finna be...
The conversation shifted toward the mechanics of social media itself, with one host admitting limited familiarity with how message requests function, since unsolicited messages don't appear directly in a main inbox and typically require actively navigating to a separate folder to view them. Another host pushed back on why anyone would deliberately seek out that hidden folder now, having apparently not done so previously, suggesting the timing looked deliberate, as if searching specifically to build a narrative around a particular fan base. That framing, they argued, ignored that plenty of ordinary non-hostile comments also exist across posts following other games, making the selective highlighting feel misleading and, in their words, distasteful. One host then offered a personal comparison, describing how their own message requests likely contain a mix of harmless content, memes, casual banter, unrelated sports takes, alongside the occasional insult buried further down, referencing an example involving a food photo that drew an unrelated crude comment. The point being made was that this type of message exists for virtually anyone with any online visibility, regardless of scale, though it was acknowledged that the volume and intensity someone like Gray faces, given her prominence during a nationally televised matchup, likely dwarfs what an average sports commentator receives.